In 1924, at a press conference in Washington, an inventor rubbed tetraethyl lead onto his hands, inhaled its vapors deeply, and confidently declared it absolutely safe. Yet over the following decades, 4 million tons of lead pollution spread across the world. Countless people were poisoned, and children suffered widespread cognitive decline. Half a century later, scientists discovered a massive ozone hole over Antarctica. And after tracing the cause, the trail once again led back to a refrigerant invented by this same man, Freon. From celebrated industrial hero to the center of environmental controversy, the life of Thomas Midgley Jr., born in 1,889 inches, a steel town, is a story wrapped in contradictions. Each time he pushed the world forward, he unknowingly bound the earth with another invisible chain. Thomas Midgley Jr. was born on the 18th of May, 1889, in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, a small industrial town filled with the atmosphere of steel mills. His father, Thomas Midgley Sr., was a prolific inventor who created early prototypes of automobile tires and held multiple patents. He was not only Midgley's role model, but also his first teacher, always tinkering with mechanical parts on a workbench at home. Growing up, young Midgley developed a fascination with the magical devices around him. His mother, Hattie Emerson Lewis, also came from a family rich in innovation. Her father, James Emerson, was a well-known 19th century tool inventor who created the inserted tooth saw, a breakthrough that greatly increased woodcutting efficiency. Surrounded by such influences, Midgley grew up immersed in engineering culture. In the early 1892s, the family moved to Columbus, Ohio, where the streetcar and automobile industries were booming, giving Midgley fertile ground to develop his interests. He was not a quiet bookworm, but an active kid who loved baseball. In high school, he even came up with a small invention, smearing chewed elm bark on a baseball to enhance its curved trajectory. The trick later spread into professional baseball. This intuitive approach to innovation stayed with him for life. He carried a laminated copy of the periodic table everywhere, treating it like a personal compass for chemical inspiration. In 1907, Midgley entered Cornell University to study mechanical engineering. He excelled academically and joined several invention clubs. His thesis focused on improving internal combustion engine efficiency, foreshadowing his future breakthroughs in the automotive industry. In 1911, the same year he graduated, he married Carrie Reynolds in a simple ceremony in Columbus. He declined a job arranged by his father at a tire company, wanting instead to carve his own path. He first worked at a small machinery plant, designing steam engine components, but soon realized his ambitions belonged on a larger industrial frontier. In 1916, opportunity arrived when General Motors invited him to join the Dayton Research Laboratories under Charles Kettering, another legendary inventor who had created the electric starter that freed cars from hand cranks. Kettering immediately saw Midgley's talent and placed him in the core research team. The automotive industry at the time was booming, but engines suffered from a serious issue, knocking irregular combustion that damaged engines and reduced power. As Ford's main competitor, GM desperately needed a breakthrough. Midgley's role was to find a way to eliminate engine knock. Engineers tested everything: ethanol blends, metallic additives, different compounds. In the early 1922s, Midgley led the anti-knock fuel project. Ethanol showed potential, but was costly and absorbed water too easily. So he shifted focus to metal organic compounds, systematically testing iron, nickel, and other elements. Nothing worked until he began experimenting with lead compounds. In October 1921, he successfully synthesized tetraethyl lead and tested it in a B8 engine. Just 0.1% added to gasoline eliminated knocking and boosted power by 20%. Kettering was ecstatic and told him, "Tom, you've saved the automobile industry." The discovery quickly moved to commercialization. In 1923, Midgley became vice president of GM's chemical division, and GM partnered with DuPont and Standard Oil to form the Ethyl Corporation to produce and distribute tetraethyl lead. To avoid the negative connotations of the word lead, They marketed the product simply as ethyl. In 1924, leaded gasoline reached gas stations nationwide with the slogan, "A smoother driving experience." But controversy erupted almost immediately. At the Deepwater, New Jersey plant, workers began falling ill. Some suffered hallucinations, some became delirious, and some died. Midgley insisted the substance was safe when diluted into gasoline at a ratio of 1 to 1,300. He even referenced ancient Rome, arguing that history showed low concentration lead exposure to be harmless. Public concern grew so intense that in April 1924, he held a press demonstration where he poured tetraethyl lead onto his hands, rubbed it in, and inhaled vapors for a full minute, declaring, "I do this every day. I'm not worried about my health." The stunt shocked the media and temporarily calmed public fears. Federal health investigators concluded that short-term exposure posed minimal risk, and production resumed. By 1926, 80% of US gasoline contained tetraethyl lead. Its commercial success was astonishing. Costs were low, fuel efficiency improved, and car sales surged. Highways expanded nationwide, but danger continued to build beneath the surface. By the 1,930 seconds, cases of lead poisoning were rising, and children showed elevated lead levels and cognitive delays. Midgley denied any link, insisting correlation did not equal causation. During World War II, demand for tetraethyl lead skyrocketed because it boosted aircraft engine performance. Ethyl Corporation's marketing was aggressive. They sponsored racing events and branded leaded gasoline as the engine's guardian angel. By 1940, global lead emissions had reached tens of thousands of tons per year. After the war, environmental scientists discovered that atmospheric lead settled into soil and water, creating widespread contamination. In the 1,970 seconds, the US Environmental Protection Agency reported that leaded gasoline had reduced the average IQ of American children by 5 to 10 points. Critics later argued that Midgley ignored early warnings. As early as 1924, Kettering's lab had already documented risks associated with lead vapor, but commercial interest prevailed. Historian Fred Pierce would eventually describe him as the man responsible for one of the greatest environmental disasters caused by a single individual. The US finally banned leaded gasoline in 1986, and other countries followed, but generations had already been exposed. Tetraethyl lead showcased Midgley's brilliance. He solved a major engineering problem in mere months, but also revealed his blind spot, choosing short-term gains over long-term ecological consequences. In the late 1,920 seconds, Midgley turned his attention to a completely different field, household refrigeration. General Motors was selling refrigerators, but the existing refrigerants were dangerous, highly toxic, and sometimes explosive. In 1929, an ammonia leak killed several people, shocking the entire industry. Kettering assigned Midgley a new mission: find a refrigerant that was non-toxic, non-flammable, and safe for home use. A magic gas, as he described it. Midgley assembled a 5-person team and screened thousands of chemical compounds, eventually focusing on fluorinated substances. In 1930, the team synthesized dichloro-difluoromethane. Midgley found its boiling point minus 29.8 degrees Celsius, ideal for refrigeration cycles. They initially called it K-Cool gas after Kettering, but soon renamed it Freon 1-2. Freon had remarkable advantages. It was safe to handle, stable, non-flammable, and efficient. In 1931, the first refrigerators using Freon went on sale, priced only slightly higher than older models. DuPont received exclusive rights to produce Freon, and the brand quickly became known nationwide. In 1932, at a meeting of the American Chemical Society, Midgley famously poured Freon over an open flame. Nothing happened. Then he had an assistant inhale it, also no reaction. He declared, "This is a revolution in safety. With this, summers can finally feel as cool as winter." Manufacturers were convinced. Freon spread rapidly across industries: refrigerators, air conditioners, aerosol sprays, and even inhalers for asthma patients. During World War II, it was used to cool military radar systems. After the war, civilian demand exploded. But like tetraethyl lead, Freon's safety was only superficial. During early safety tests, Midgley's team overlooked potential photochemical reactions. At the time, he believed fluorine compounds were so stable they could never break apart in the atmosphere. He was wrong. Freon eventually rose into the stratosphere, where ultraviolet radiation broke it down and released chlorine atoms. These chlorine atoms catalyzed the destruction of ozone molecules, thinning the protective ozone layer. In 1974, chemists Sherwood Rowland and Mario Molina published a groundbreaking paper showing that chlorofluorocarbons were destroying millions of tons of ozone each year. The discovery shocked the world. A depleted ozone layer meant higher rates of skin cancer and severe disruptions to ecosystems, especially in Antarctica. In 1987, nations around the world agreed to phase out Freon under the Montreal Protocol. By 2010, atmospheric concentrations had dropped by about 30%, but the damage had already been profound. Midgley never witnessed these consequences, yet warnings had surfaced earlier. In 1940, a colleague questioned whether fluorinated compounds might drift upward and cause harm. Midgley dismissed the idea, saying the molecules were too stable to break apart. Despite its eventual environmental cost, Freon revolutionized modern life. Air conditioning reshaped architecture, urban development, and comfort in hot climates. Refrigeration transformed food preservation and global trade. But Freon also became one of the most damaging greenhouse gases, far more potent than carbon dioxide. Time magazine would later list Freon among the 50 worst inventions in history. This second environmental mistake, like his first, stemmed partly from the scientific limits of the era. At the time, humanity lacked an understanding of stratospheric chemistry and global atmospheric models. The 1,930 seconds and 40 seconds marked the peak of Midgley's career. Awards poured in, and he became a respected industrial leader. But long-term exposure to chemicals had already harmed his health. In 1940, at age 51, he contracted poliomyelitis, which left his lower body paralyzed. Doctors told him the paralysis would be permanent. Refusing to give up, Midgley designed an elaborate pulley and rope hoist system to lift himself out of bed. Tragically, the invention meant to restore his independence caused his death. On the 2nd of November, 1944, while using the device, he was accidentally entangled in the ropes and died. Some early reports labeled the death a suicide, but his family firmly rejected that claim, calling it an accident. Newspapers at the time wrote, "A brilliant mind has fallen to his own creation." In his final years, Midgley had reflected on his legacy. He once said he hoped people would remember the progress enabled by technology, not the costs hidden behind it. His death marked the symbolic end of an era, one defined by rapid industrial expansion and faith in technological salvation. Looking back, Thomas Midgley Jr.'s life mirrors humanity's ambition and the double-edged nature of innovation. His inventions accelerated modernization, transformed daily life, and reshaped industries, but they also inflicted two of the most severe environmental crises in history: global lead pollution and the destruction of the ozone layer. In today's world where climate change dominates global concern, Midgley's story offers a profound lesson. We must evaluate technology not only for its short-term benefits, but across its entire life cycle. When confronting unknown risks, safety must come before blind pursuit of profit or breakthroughs. Midgley's tragedy stemmed from excessive technological optimism and the scientific blind spots of his time. His legacy warns us that progress must not trample ecological boundaries. Future innovators will surely emerge with dreams as bold as Midgley's, but may they carry with them the key he lacked: the wisdom to balance advancement with protection, ensuring technology remains a force that benefits both humanity and the planet. That concludes the full video. Leave your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and share. I'm Thattstrange, and I'll see you in the next episode.